Welcome to the Confidence in Singing podcast, where you can reclaim your voice and rediscover the joy of singing. I'm Aideen, and my guests include singers and voice experts who share their insights and journey to encourage singing for health, happiness, and fun. To support this podcast and join the Confidence in Singing community, just click on the Patreon link below. Welcome to the Confidence in Singing podcast. I'm Aideen, and my guest today is David Drake.
Hello. Hi, Aideen. Hi, everybody.
Hi. It's great to have you here, David. Let me introduce you. David Drake is a prolific songwriter and composer, originally from Detroit, now based in Los Angeles. He has fronted multiple bands and now produces for other artists. His debut solo album, Imaginary Movies, was released in 2021. So how was that, releasing something like a solo album after so long working with other people in collaborations?
Great. There was nobody to tell me what to do. No, I enjoyed it. It's a lot of the songs were kind of older songs that I've always wanted to record and produce and release, and then I combined with some newer stuff. And I wasn't in a rush. I took my time. I recorded the whole thing here in my studio at home, and then mixed some of it, and then I had some good friends mix it. Mike included.
Yes, and I know one of those good friends, right?
Yeah, I think you know him pretty well. Yeah, so I mean, he did actually probably the majority of the mixes on the record, which were great. So yeah,
that's
it was
my husband,
exciting.
Mike.
Sorry for those that don't know. Right?
For those who don't know, Mike is actually, he's a producer and songwriter as well. But you guys have known each other for quite a long time, haven't you?
Yep, we've known each other since like 2006, 2007, I think.
Did you guys meet in the music scene in LA?
Yeah, actually, I think we met at a coffee house, but it was kind of tied to the music scene at the time. And I believe that's where we met. I can't remember exactly, but we definitely were both. I started playing shows at a venue that he had been playing at with a band he was in at the time, and we just kind of hit it off. We're both from Michigan, so we became buds quick. And Mike, worked on music for me a long time ago as well. When I feel like at the time I was nowhere near as good as I've become, which is kind of the process of being a musician. But Mike was awesome at that time. He's always been awesome. So he made my music sound so good then. I'm like, I got to work with him again. But yeah.
Well, so. Mike had the advantage of being in a high school that was purely for music. So he got a lot of that hard work went in very young. Unfortunately, that isn't possible for a lot of young people who would love to spend their time doing more music, but they don't get any encouragement in that. So tell me a little bit about your own childhood and how music played into your upbringing and where the love of music came from.
So yeah, for the most part, I was an athlete as a child. I was a swimmer and played a few others, baseball player and stuff. So I didn't really, my family. Well, it's kind of weird because my family loved music, but none of them were musicians. And so they kind of nurtured the athletics a little more than the musical, as far as like learning music at a young age. Although I did get piano lessons at like age 11, 12, 13, stuff like that. And I always was really into it. And I took piano classes when I could in school. And my father was a DJ. It was one of his jobs. He was kind of a part-time DJ, worked nights on a station called W4 in Detroit, which was a classic rock station. He worked with Howard Stern at the time for a few years. And so he introduced me to classic rock music young. And my brother is quite a bit older than me, so he was really into like the whole 80s scene when I was a little kid. So I got to like get into Journey and Foreigner and bands like that at a young age. But I guess the love, probably for a lot of people, same thing, came originally from the Beatles. I just fell in love with the Beatles at a young age, like 5th grade or something, and was obsessed with listening to those, greatest hits album, the Blue and Red album of the Beatles, and just I think that was like the initial love. And I started learning Beatles songs on piano, and it just kind of developed. I didn't even start playing guitar till I was 18, because that was kind of when I started losing interest in the athletics, which had originally gotten me into college. And then when I got into college, I became way more interested in the arts and into music and stuff. So
cool.
So that's when I started playing guitar and kind of used my piano background to learn guitar, somewhat quickly because I had the theory base from piano, classical piano mostly. And then it just kind of, from there, it just spiraled into a bit of an obsession. Yeah.
That's awesome. I remember at home, we had a box of vinyl records that I think belonged to my uncle, my dad's brother. And in that was like that Red Album from the Beatles and some artists you probably don't know of. Mike was like, who's Boney M? But like I had Boney M in there and ABBA and a lot of 70s and 80s music. So that was my education too, came from some records like that were somehow around the house that I got my hands on.
Totally. I mean, it's probably the best education.
Yeah.
Just listening.
And so much fun. Yeah. I mean, people who listens to records anymore these days?
Me.
Yay.
That's how we listen to music at home, honestly. We have a record player, like an old Crosley, and that's in the house. That's how we listen to music. Obviously, I listen to Sirius XM or whatever in my car and stuff, but no more CDs, although I've got like 1 million of them somewhere. I don't know what to do with them. They're good frisbees.
You can send a few to Mike and I because we always need them for the car because we don't have Sirius in the car. Sirius, if for anybody who doesn't realize, is like an internet-based music station. But Mike and I are trying to catch good music on the local radio stations up here in Michigan, and a lot of it's very country, some really good rock and roll from time to time, and then it's a bit of a mishmash of Christian music and some classical, and it can be hard to find something that we really want to listen to.
Right. Yeah, and the rock stations, I mean, I could be wrong. Things have probably changed since I left Michigan, but they kind of regurgitate the same, top 40 hits of the 90s and stuff. Mm-hmm. You'll hear like Green Day, Brain Stew or something over and over again. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me a little bit about your voice, because obviously you have your own album, you sing on it, you sing great. What was your journey with getting, to know your own voice and to start to like it enough to want to share it with other people?
Okay, well, honestly, here's that journey, and I'd say by now I'm about here. So I'm hoping there's a long journey ahead of me to really finding it. I'm not a traditional singer, and I also have a baritone voice, so I can't sing many notes above middle C well. So I sing lower, which instantly kind of takes me out of the game in the tenor range that people are used to hearing singers sing. And I think that's just because of my size and like my vocal cords are longer, so it's like harder for me to hit those range. I can go into head voice and hit them, but so it's been a challenge to really find, because a lot of the singers that I loved and emulated are tenors, and so like I can't really sing the same range as like a Tom York, obviously, or like or Bono, or all these great singers, right? So I had to kind of learn from what I wanted to do with, maybe at first someone emulating those singers or admiring them and trying to figure out how I could sing in a similar way in my range, and then really kind of come to terms with like where my range is and what's good, which I think on this record, for the most part, I've figured out. But it's taken a while. And, like I was singing in the first band I did. In the second band, I sang duets and some songs, but I wasn't like the main singer. And I think at that point I was kind of realizing that I hadn't really found my voice entirely, and I wanted to like kind of take a back seat with the singing, work more on the compositions and find it. But I'm starting to find it, and I'm comfortable with what's coming out. It's, that's the thing with singing, is it's like, I think it is a lifelong journey. And, some people have a great natural, singing voice instantly, but they still can learn how to bring out like, tone and inflection more and all these things that can turn them into better singers. So I think you need to be open to that, open to like the experience of, okay, you can sing now, keep working on it for 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think from what you're saying there is the singers that you most admired and the type of bands that you most admired had singers that were in that higher range. And there's a good reason why it's mainly tenor voices that actually end up in bands like that, because they're hitting that treble zone that isn't being taken up by bass and, the deeper instruments in a band. So the tenor voice can cut through the rest of the band and be heard in a different range. But there is a place for, as they say, all God's children have a place in the choir. But there is a place for that baritone voice. I always think of Nick Cave.
Oh yeah, he's awesome.
And there are some amazing singers with very deep voices, but I think there's just a trend in the last 20 years, 30 maybe years, that is that the tenor voice is the one that's kind of being used a lot more in bands.
For sure, yeah, and I think, like you said, for good reason. But yeah, there's great, it's also unique though to have a baritone voice. And like you said, like Nick Cave, Johnny Cash, and even some singers that sit in the baritone range but go into tenor, like an Eddie Vedder or people like that. It's still, they're singing a lot of baritone lines. And, he obviously has had insane success with it. And there's a lot of like underground artists, like there's a guy called the White Buffalo who does kind of folk songs who, cool, kind of bar music, but they're good songs, and he sings really low. So yeah, I agree. Tenor is what most people want to hear, but there's also more tenors out there. So
one of the songs, we're going to play one of your songs at the end of the podcast today called Touch the Burning Sky. I'd love to, if you would tell us a little bit about the seed that kind of that song came from and that journey, because I don't think a lot of people know much about like how you get a song from the beginning stages all the way to releasing it as a song, on an album, like with a video. Could you tell us maybe some of the journey that song took?
Yeah, well, this song actually has a long journey, and it starts with your husband again. So Mike and I were hanging out a long time ago, and this was a co-write between the two of us, and he showed me the initial chorus chords and the chorus line of close your eyes, touch the burning sky. And he's like, he knew my music at the time, and he's like, I feel like this could be a song that, that you could help write, that you could develop with me. I had this idea. So, we worked on it a little bit together. I took it home and continued working on it. I believe he also had verse chords down, but he didn't have lyrics to the verse at all. So I went home with it and I wrote the lyrics to the verses and melody. I think we kind of worked on together. I can't remember. And then I kind of added like an outro, it's kind of modeled after a song like Karma Police that has like the verse, chorus, verse, or verse, chorus, chorus structure. And then it goes into that whole kind of outro that's kind of epic and big. And that particular song kind of is modeled after that in a way. And I feel like we record at the time when we finished the writing of it, we recorded like a demo version of it and sat with it for a while. And then as I got the idea of making the record that was released last year, Imaginary Movies, I felt like that song needed to be redone and put on it. And so I recorded it here. And then I sent Mike all of the raw tracks and he mixed it. And it turned out the way, well, you'll hear it at the end. And then I feel like it would be good to share that for that reason, because it was a co-written and co-produced project between Mike and I. And also we made a music video for it that turned out pretty interesting. So,
it's a beautiful video. And do you want to tell us a little bit about that video for anybody?
Yeah,
who's going to be listening to they may be listening to the audio. So if you describe it a little bit, they'll be able to imagine the scene.
Oh, cool. So you're not gonna be able to show the video at the end of it. Okay.
Not if it's on Spotify.
No, well, the video is on YouTube. So anyway, so if you like the song, you can go to YouTube and just look up David Drake, Touch the Burning Sky, and it'll be there. So yeah, we shot it up on a lake in a canoe in Lake Alpine, which is this beautiful lake in the Sierra Nevada mountains. And I was on a canoe. It was my buddy Adam's idea. I think he kind of modeled it after a Jim Jarmusch movie, Dead Man, that has Johnny Depp in it. And we were on the canoe, and he's filming, and I'm rowing and playing the song, singing the song as it goes. And then there's some cuts to the beautiful landscapes, drone shots, and also me on the beach. And at the end, kind of in the epic outro, we flew the drone, and we only had one take to do this, but I dove off the canoe into the water, and the water, it's like 58-degree water. It was really cold, but it fully in a suit, fully dressed, and just kind of, let everything out. Like, I'd finally like found myself, found peace in nature, and just, went for it. And we captured it with one shot, and it turned out awesome. So we're really happy. It's
an amazing video. Definitely worth looking up on YouTube if you're just listening to the podcast. So yeah, recommend that. So with your music, and I know that you also work. You've got a family. You've got a little girl. She just turned, what is it, 5?
Yeah, 5. Yeah.
Oh. And so you're busy. I know that you're a busy guy. How do you fit music into your life, and why? Like, I mean, I know a lot of people would kind of put aside something like music because they're in their mind thinking, I've got all these responsibilities. How do you justify music in your life, and like, how do you balance your life with it?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's tough to find time, but I love it. So it's a passion, and it's something that I would always want to do regardless, but I also like to keep it alive, and I like, working on new songs with other artists and stuff, and trying to keep, just keep the door open for possibilities to grow and to make music my full-time career. Right now, I'm not able to do that, and I need to make money, so I do have another job. But, I find time at night. Sometimes in the afternoons I'll have time. My daughter is in school, so she goes to a really good Montessori preschool, so she's there. So I have some times in the afternoon before I have to go into work and stuff. So I just make the time. Now, am I giving it the time that I could if it was a full-time career? No, of course not. I just don't have that ability to right now. But I would like to at some point. So just keeping the dream alive, and keeping, I also feel great when I complete a new project, a new song, a new recording, producing for someone or for myself or whoever. It's a great feeling. So I also am kind of addicted to that, the rush of creation, the rush of creation. Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, you have done what you did, like releasing a solo album. And you've had some success with that album as well. I mean, that's been amazing to do that while you've also been working. Tell us a little bit about how you got your album out, and what kind of success it's already gotten, and where you'd like to see it go.
Well, it's it's had success is people have enjoyed it. I've gotten a lot of good feedback. I've gotten played on some college radio stations. A couple of the songs in particular got spun a lot on those. Some YouTube, that Touch the Burning Sky songs got, some thousands of views and stuff like that. Like, people have shown interest and they like it, and that means a lot to me. Now, success on the grand scheme where you're making a lot of money from it, that's a different battle. And I feel like that's something that hasn't happened, but it's very rare to even make that happen these days, especially with the demise of record sales and and stuff like that. So where I'd like to go with it is to have more opportunities in publishing. I feel the songs are very cinematic, and I live in LA. I'm also loosely involved in the entertainment business as a whole and the film side of things, and so getting more songs placed. I've had a couple songs placed in the past, but like more songs placed in TV and film. I know Mike's had some success with that as well, and that's always a really good route for getting the album out there more. I'm with my lifestyle, it's hard for me to just hit the road and tour to promote the album. So that's also another way where success can come. It's probably the best way for bands to get successful, and that's not really on the table for me right now. So I have to go about it a different route and try to utilize, radio and film and TV and the internet more. So
that sounds good. Yeah. That sounds really good. I mean, look, I think it's been tricky for so many people. I mean, COVID in itself has meant that people haven't been out performing much, but
right.
I hope you get your chances to perform, even if it's just locally down in LA. I'm sure you could get a little bit of a following down there going once things open up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. I'm waiting for that for sure. Been there, done that with past bands too. So I do want to play. I do miss performing live a lot, but I am still you know, a little weary of the whole venue, of playing and what, venues, segregating who can come in and who can't. I'm not really a big fan about that personally. So I'll wait till it kind of eases up a little bit more.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. I actually had my first live gig. This is a funny story. My first outside piece of work was for a private, like, little tiny gig for 30 minutes of Irish songs for an Irish lady who is very unwell at home in bed. So that was, it was something though. It was like I got a chance to sing. I got a chance to sing about songs about Ireland, which of course I miss home. And so was really nice. And they really appreciated it. So I think as singers, as musicians, we gotta, grab the opportunities when they come and not look a gift horse in the mouth. And, we're not all going to end up on massive stages. So I think when an artist works with what they've got and sees the value in doing the thing that they're doing right now, and not just looking at that, the pot of gold or the success that they hope for in the future, then you can be satisfied and contented that you're doing what you love and that you're doing it the way you can at that moment. If something better comes from it in the future, so be it. But if it doesn't, it's not been a waste of time either.
I 100% agree. And I feel like through time you learn that. And, if you really love it for what it is and you're not just like in it to become a rock star or whatever, you learn to appreciate that, like the little wins and just the journey itself and the creation. And that's what it's all about. And that's life. If you end up getting luck, because really a lot of it is luck too. You got to be honest. Like there's some of the greatest artists you've ever heard that nobody knows about or just his local friends know and people in the town. And then there's artists that are making millions of dollars that are pretty mediocre. And so, maybe they're decent at something, but marketing or whatever, but as performers and especially as songs, it's pretty mediocre. I mean, there's some pretty horrible, trashy music out there that gets endless plays, and it doesn't really take the skill of creation that guys like John Lennon and Bob Marley were creating at the time. You know what I mean? It's a different level of skill that's being pushed forward. And I'm a bit old school, so I appreciate the songwriting of the past a little more. But I think it's hard to argue with that, even if you don't necessarily appreciate the songwriting of the past more. But so there's luck. You gotta just keep doing as many things as you can, and being open to working with other people, I think, is always a really good thing. And I know that's things that people struggle with. Maybe I struggled with that at one point too when I was younger. You really want to hold on to your ideas, but I think the more you can expand and work with other people and learn how to collaborate, the better your chances are.
That's a really good point, and I know Mike's experienced this, where you become very precious about what you've got and you don't really want to share any of it with anybody else, or I think the difficulty is you don't want anyone else to take credit for the work that you've already put in. I definitely have a streak of that from time to time. So what do you think makes a really, really good song? Like, so you're talking about songs, John Lennon and the Beatles, and, you've Eddie Vedder and people like that. If you had to analyze, some of your favorite songs, what are the components that actually make a song really great in your eyes?
There's so many.
Tough question.
So, yeah. So as the song itself, I mean, if you're not talking about lyrical concept whatsoever, and you're just talking about like what you're hearing, I think what makes a great song is a melody that's unique, and it also has like some classical feel. Like I think that like guys like Mozart and Beethoven that like created the best melodies, right? And so it has to have some relevance to melodies like that. I feel like when the melodies are just kind of trite in a lot of music today and they're not really classical at all, that bothers me. But that's also a taste thing. So I wouldn't say there can't be a great song that is like that, because there's so many other components. Really good tones to the instruments, whatever that's being used. I prefer real drums. I know there's a lot of music these days that don't have real drums, but I feel like there's a little more having that feel of, actually, something striking something, and like that, the percussive feel in the song is important. That's same with a piano. Like I can hear the difference when a piano, you actually hear the percussive feel of the hammer hitting the strings rather than the digital sound. I like that. But I mean, that's more choices in production. That's not necessarily the song. So the song, yeah, it's melody, a good solid chord structure. It doesn't have to be really unique. And then meaning. Like that's the thing that I feel like we're lacking these days, is there isn't really meaning to the lyrical concept and the reason why the song is being put out there. Like I feel like a good song needs to be a reason why that song is being heard by people. What is it doing to influence people in the right way? What is it doing to share a point of view that people need to hear? And is there like real concept behind it? So I feel like those are the things that really make a great song. And you listen to a song like, I don't know, one just popped in my head from the Beatles, early Beatles song, like Nowhere Man, about this guy, right? And how this complete lonely person who's out there, and how he really is, there's a side of you that is that person. And you got to embrace that side and understand that side. And it's, putting you in that position like, oh, wow, I never really thought of things that way. It makes you think. It's a great song. Not to mention the melody and everything else that's so great about it. But, and there's, tons of those. And those still come out today. I just don't hear them as often. But maybe I'm not seeking it out in the same way. Who knows? That I was.
Yeah, well, it does come down to what is finding the listeners. And I think that was a little bit more streamlined, in the past when, radio stations were listened to more, and you had your couple of TV shows that were specifically for the music of the time. Whereas now a lot of people aren't listening to music in that way. They're not getting introduced to music through media in the same way. Yeah. And you're right about radio stations. They seem to regurgitate a lot of the same songs over and over.
Yeah. And I think that's not even their fault necessarily. I think that's the only way that they're staying afloat, making money, because they own the rights to those musics, and those records are still selling, the old records, and new artists, they can't really get them to cross over to sales in the same way.
Yes, and I loved what you said about meaning. Yeah, there's so much to be said. I think with singers as well, because this is, something I say a lot to singers, is when you put your heart and soul into the song, you don't have to have a perfect pitch or a perfect voice for that necessarily in order to connect with the audience. And that's really what your listeners want, is they want to connect with that feeling within you. Mm-hmm. And so the song, if it says something that you really mean, it's going to have more of an effect and more impact.
Yeah, definitely.
Is there anything that you would like to say to listeners that may be considering doing more with their singing or songwriting or performing, but maybe you're feeling a little bit like that? Well, is there any point, or, what would you say to encourage someone that to take a similar path to what you've done?
I guess, life's really habitual. So set habits, like every day, work on it. If you don't look at it like, I wish I was a great singer a week from now. If you look at it like, I'm just going to set a habit of, I'm going to spend 20 minutes a day working on my voice, and maybe 20 more minutes playing guitar and singing and trying to find melodies I like. And you do that every day, a few months down the line, you'll start coming up with things. And I think you'll be, happy about the progress. And I think life is, when you're making progress, it, and it breeds more progress. Like anytime you have success with something, even if it's just on a personal level, like, oh, I finally created a song I like, then it's very likely that you'll create more because you've had that bit of progress. So that, I guess that's a good way to approach it. And yeah.
And what about
if you hate it, then quit. If you really don't like your voice, just find a different singer and write some music.
Yeah, you can write music and have someone else sing it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
What would you say to someone that's feeling, oh, I'm not sure if my voice has any relevance? Because I know that that's a struggle that you had with, figuring out where to how to make your voice work with the kind of music that you like.
Yeah, well, I'd say every voice has relevance because it's the only unique instrument in the world. It's the only thing that somebody can't duplicate is the voice. Anyone, no matter how good of a piano player you are, somebody else can play it and play it better. Same with guitar, same with anything. So anyone can pick up, you can have like a Jimmy Page out there writing these crazy things, but somebody can learn those lines and play them, maybe not the exact same way, but very close. But singing is a unique thing. So you've got a unique voice, use it.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think everybody's voice matters.
Yeah.
It really does. Especially when we bring our heart to the voice as well. So that's really it today. Thank you so much, David, for joining us. Is there anything else you want to say about your album? Because I want to make sure people check it out. I mean, know that the Imaginary Movies is such an interesting title. Tell us a little bit more about the album. See if we can kind of get a little bit of curiosity in the listeners' minds to find out more about that album, because I think a lot of thought went into it, didn't it?
Yeah. I think so. Each song is kind of its own story, and they're all like, it's kind of like maybe like a little bit psychedelic folk rock music. Nothing is crazy catchy like a pop song. They're more like their stories, and I tried to it's called Imaginary Movies because each song is kind of like a different, like a vignette, like a Kurosawa movie where like he has like 7 little movies in one movie, and like the album is that. Like the first song is this, my grandfather was a war hero in World War II, and he was in a German prison camp for 6 months, and that song was written about his story of being in the prison camp and what he had to go through marching in the middle of winter across Poland, and his will to survive and get home, and like that. So that's like Act 1, and then there's a song about Vincent van Gogh called Silent Desolation on there, which is the story of my take on his life and the kind of haunting, passion behind his creations. And then, there's a Western song, Land of a Thousand Tomorrows, that Mike mixed and worked on. And actually, we just shot a music video for it. Mike directed it and edited it, which it's not out. That one's not out yet, but it's coming soon. And that one's kind of it's like a Western. It's like a spaghetti Western. So each song kind of has its own little story, and it's kind of try to create them kind of imagistic. If you take music that way, I do. I like to listen to music and kind of imagine seeing things around it. That's why I'm a little more interested in bands like a Pink Floyd or a Radiohead or stuff like that, because they create those kind of soundscapes where they become really visual if you go there. They call it synesthesia or something, where you can see colors and yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Okay. No more LSD, Dave. Let's move on. No.
It's all these new words. I need to have a dictionary now. This must be a new jargon dictionary for music. But I mean, that's only like a taste of what the songs are like on your album. Like, there's just so many interesting songs. They all feel like they have a unique personality, I think.
Thanks. Yeah. And you sang on a couple of them, I think. Background, didn't you? One of them,
I think I did a few backing vocals, because Mike was working on it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're awesome. So, it's awesome too. Yeah.
Yeah, I get roped in. It's great. Mike gets roped in, and I get roped in. I'm sure you get roped in too. Mm-hmm. Do you have any other projects like that you're working on with other artists that you want people to look out for?
Well, yeah, I'm producing an album right now for an artist named Jamie Black. It's like a 6-song album, so we're almost done with it. We're working on the mixes now. We've done all the recording and we're mixing it, so that she should have that out soon. It's really kind of cool, ethereal folk music. She's really haunting. So it's kind of like a haunted vibe, but it's great. It's great. It's really pretty music. And I'm working with this incredible singer named Molly Durand. We're doing some co-write songs, and I'm producing a song from her. And she's just a phenomenal, kind of like an Adele sort of, Florence and the Machine kind of singer. And she can like hit all those notes. So it's really fun working with her because she can do things that I can't even imagine doing melodically. So I'm writing a lot of music for those songs and piano and stuff. So doing that, and supposedly about to embark on a journey of scoring an independent horror film. So that hasn't started yet, so I don't really want to say it's, they started shooting the film, but we haven't started the music yet. But that supposedly is happening soon too. So
well, it's exciting, and so maybe the listeners will have a little look around for some of the other artists that you're working with, and definitely look up your album. And it's a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for taking the time. We wish you the very, very best with your music, and keep up the good work, and the persistence, and the idea of having a habit that you just do a little bit of it every day. I think that is absolute genius, and that can be a key that makes doing it feel like it's part of your life, and not necessarily in order to achieve anything, but just to make something that you love, something that you do every day, and not something that you just let the guitar, gather dust in the corner of the room for a year, and then you pick it back up again.
Right. For sure.
So hopefully all of you listeners out there start a little habit that guitar needs to get dusted off, and played more often, and sing more often, and enjoy music more often, because it is good for us, and it does help us stay happy. And to me, being happy is how we stay strong, and how we stay strong for others. So that's my little 2 cents worth. So we're going to sign off in a second. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to say before we sign off?
No, just thanks for watching the whole thing. Assuming you did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And enjoy the song, right? You're going to play a song, right?
We're going to play Touch the Burning Sky. Yes. Awesome. Okay.
Thanks for doing that.
Thanks, everyone. You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Bye. Thanks, Aideen.
Bye. You're welcome. Thanks, everyone, for listening. And we'll see you again next time on the Confidence in Singing podcast. Take care.
Close your eyes, touch the burning sky. The most pleasant scene, it passed right through my periphery. A cumulus rising in colors lost to mystery. No shades of white or blue to lock inside a simple truth. This time you made me blind and touched the burning sky. Touch the burning sky. It's the simple things, the solace that shades of grey can bring as it surrounds the ochre trees that set fire to the fallen leaves in a frost. Comes and chills your skin, shows you how once again we can begin again. Close your eyes, touch the burning sky. Touch the burning sky. Can you walk into these arms? How can you look right through these eyes? You are. How can you shed the skin's disguise? Close your eyes. Touch the burning sky. touch the burning sky. I think somewhere I lost my way.